Okay, welcome to the Sexsmith Joint Virtual Crime Prevention Town Hall, a collaboration between the County of Grand Prairie Regional Enforcement Services and the Grand Prairie Rural RCMP. I'm Staff Sergeant Matthew Short with the Grand Prairie Rural RCMP Detachment. This evening, you will hear from 4 presenters, followed by a question and answer session. Once the presentations end, we will invite you to post your questions in the question and answer area of this virtual meeting for our moderators to share. While we cannot answer questions about specific cases or incidents being investigated, we do welcome questions about crime prevention plans and strategies. Please keep your questions clean and respectful, as we will not address any that violate the social media commenting guidelines. We'll get to as many questions as possible, and a recording of the live event will be made available on the Town of Sexsmith's YouTube channel. I'd like to introduce our panel with us this evening. We have Kate Potter, Mayor of Sexsmith, Ken Hildebrand, the president of the Sexsmith Citizens on Patrol Society, and Stuart Rempel is superintendent and manager of County Regional Enforcement Services. At this point, we welcome Mayor Kate Potter, who brings greetings on behalf of the town of Sexsmith, and welcome.
Thank you, Staff Sergeant Short. Good evening and welcome to the Virtual Crime Prevention Town Hall. Your attendance at this event reveals your desire for making our community safer and your passion for crime prevention. Crime prevention and building a safer community are important to Town Council as well, and we are looking forward to hearing from you tonight. We know that safe communities are those where residents are engaged and working together. These communities build a strong foundation and resilience for future generations, and they help new residents feel welcomed. The residents also feel a pride and ownership in the town and invite others to do life there. Sexsmith is a community like this. Safe communities also have good policing. We are fortunate to have a strong partnership with our rural Grand Prairie RCMP detachment, as well as the County of Grand Prairie Enforcement Services. These partnerships, along with cooperation with our local COP or Citizens on Patrol Association, benefit our entire region and help maintain safer communities. I know that you will find the information you received tonight valuable, and we look forward to hearing the feedback you will give. It's now my delight to introduce a fellow councillor and the president of the Sexsmith Citizens on Patrol Society, Ken Hildebrand.
Thank you, Mayor Potter. Thank you to everyone attending tonight. Your interest in the town hall indicates that you, together with our partners, have a vested interest in keeping our community safe. I am the president of the Sexsmith Citizens on Patrol Association. I've been for about 2 years. The Sexsmith Citizens on Patrol Association acts as the eyes and the ears for the RCMP. We work together in a partnership with the RCMP and the County Regional Enforcement Services to help make our town a safer place for our residents and businesses. Alberta Citizens on Patrol is a volunteer organization with over 50 provincial groups, including Sexsmith on Patrol. We have a member of our Sexsmith team that sits on the provincial board and is able to take concerns from the northern groups such as High Level, La Glace, Height, Sexsmith, Smoky River, back to the provincial group to note the rural concerns. The Alberta Citizens on Patrol group has also served as a model for other groups throughout Canada. There are now 8 members, provinces with the active Canadian Citizens on Patrol Association, and new groups wanting to start up in the Northwest Territories and Nunavut. These provincial groups all use the Alberta Citizens on Patrol Society as their model for their groups. We are always looking for new members in Sexsmith to volunteer their time. The schedule is flexible to meet the needs of the volunteers. You can volunteer during the week, weekends, during the days or evenings. More volunteers we have, our safer our town will be. Applications are available in our town office or at the town website at www.sexsmith.ca under the heading Community. Crime prevention is everyone's responsibility. Thank you all for attending tonight. Stay safe, and I'll turn it back over to Staff Sergeant Short. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to my part of the presentation here. My presentation will give participants a better understanding of the areas served by the Grand Prairie RCMP detachment, the number of members within the detachment, and some of their roles that they have. We'll also have some information tonight on current crime statistics for the region and the town of Sexsmith, along with an overview of some of the initiatives taken on by Grand Prairie Rural as part of our annual performance plan. The Grand Prairie Rural Detachment, as you can see just by the photo on your screens there, is a large detachment area that we service. In addition to Sexsmith, we also provide service to Claremont, Grovedale, Bezanson, the TP Creek area, DeBolt, Ridge Valley, and Crooked Creek. Our borders, we have a border area off of the BC border, as well north up to the county line, and then east past Crooked Creek towards Valley View. Some of the detachments that border us, Beaver Lodge, Spirit River, McClellan, and Valley View and Grand Cache. Members in the rural detachment right now are 16 general duty constables, 3 road supervisor positions, 2 general investigator members, 1 special investigations unit member, a member of our crime reduction unit, and then a member from our drug enforcement unit. The number of members that we have now is a change from years past. We're able to provide a 24-hour policing to rural, including the town of Sexsmith, with the members that we have now. I'm happy to say that all of our general duty positions are occupied at this point in time, although there will be some changes for the rural unit coming up in the next couple of months as a couple of members are moving on to new detachments and we have some new people coming in. One of the reasons we have the members that we have now in the rural detachment is a new enhanced memorandum of understanding between the RCMP and the county of Grand Prairie. In years past, there was a rural enhanced unit that worked out of the county office. We recently renewed that agreement and made some changes to how that operated. We took those enhanced positions, brought them back into the general duty program, and then with that made some commitments to the county to provide some specialized services for them, specifically around schools, special event policing, and then a commitment as well to work out of the county services building as much as we can here in Claremont, just for a number of different reasons. This again provides us with 24-hour police coverage and provides more members available for calls for service during the day. We talk about some crime stats that are specific to the Grand Prairie Rural Detachment area. As you can see, overall criminal code offenses in our area were up over the last year to a total of 6%. 1% of that is attributed to persons crimes, which actually totaled a grand total of 2 extra cases that we dealt with in the last year. There was a larger increase in the property crime side of things, not related to break and enter so much, but more in relation to fraud complaints that we received in the last year. Other criminal code charges were up as well, but those were related a lot to some breach charges and other initiatives that we had taken on as part of our annual performance plan. When we talk about statistics and crime statistics specifically for the town of Sexsmith, things look pretty good over the last year. Overall, there was a 2% decrease in person crimes, a better decrease in the number of property crimes, 14% decrease in those crimes there. And again, like the rural overall, there was an increase on those other criminal code charges. We talked about the annual performance plan and some initiatives that we've taken on, and we'll take a moment just to talk about that. The Grand Prairie Rural Detachment, this is the first year as a detachment that we have generated our own annual performance plan. In years past, we worked as part of the larger Grand Prairie Detachment. We identified in the last couple of years that maybe it wasn't the best way of doing things and that a more rural focus was required. So we met with community members, community leaders early last year. And from those consultations, identified 3 areas that we wanted to focus on this coming year, those being communication, police visibility, and crime reduction. We addressed communication in a couple of different ways. One of the notable ways we wanted to address that was with the introduction of a new RCMP newsletter from the detachment. This newsletter gives us the opportunity to focus on public service announcements for the area, as well as highlighting calls for service in both the city and rural, and bringing to light some of those police interactions that don't always make the paper for those major drug busts or major crimes. Some of the things that we discussed over the last year, securing seasonal properties, Halloween safety, fraud prevention, computer safety, intersection safety, some of those types of events. The other area that we wanted to work on was the police visibility. One of the key ways that we wanted to address this was with the introduction of a door knocker program. This is essentially a proactive patrol throughout the days made by members when they're in the area, can stop at a residence either in Sexsmith or in the rural areas. If they're talking with a person who's provided a door knocker, lets people know that we were there in the area if no one was home. Provides some crime reduction strategies on the back. At this stage, we've attended, it says 176 on there. We just updated those numbers today, and that was 193 properties that we've been to so far this year. The other area that we wanted to focus on was property crime. We've done this a number of different ways. We work regularly with our district crime reduction unit just to work in some of the remote areas. That resulted in a project earlier this year where $100,000 worth of property was recovered. A number of people were charged out of that. Our local crime reduction unit that we have a member in was also used a bait vehicle throughout the year. We were fortunate that somebody was happily to steal that, and as a result we were able to arrest a couple of suspects after it was taken out of the Byzantin area. The area that the general duty members focus on more regularly is the prolific offenders. Those are regular curfew checks on people that have known offenders that are on conditions for curfews or other conditions that we can enforce. We want to make sure that they're abiding by those conditions. We've had success where we identified somebody who was on parole, found to be violating, worked with the parole office, and then had that parole revoked so that prolific offender could be returned to custody. We talk about our general investigation section. So we're fortunate in the rural detachment right now that our members that we have in rural work with a larger GI unit with the city. That means that when we get those more complex investigations, we're able to draw on the resources of that larger unit to complete more complex and thorough investigations for some of those bigger files when they occur. And a good example of that is our GIS section assisted with a kidnapping file where a firearm was involved. They identified several scenes that were secured, obtained several judicial authorizations, and as a result, were able to arrest and charge 2 suspects with kidnapping with a firearm, some extortion-related offenses, and robbery. They're also actively working on a home invasion and stabbing file from in the fall of last year that was out in a rural area where a report of a home invasion occurred near Byzantin. They have carriage of that file as lead investigators and are still working on that file. They've ensured multiple interviews have been completed. We do have some suspects identified, but that investigation is still continuing. Same deal with our drug unit. We have a member that's assigned from rural to the drug unit in Grand Prairie. They assist with a number of complex drug investigations. A great example of that one is a long-term project that occurred last year between April and August. That resulted in 260 grams of cocaine being recovered, 32 grams of fentanyl, methamphetamine, a handgun, and some cash. That resulted in 3 people being charged with a number of offenses related to drug trafficking and firearms possession. The Specialized Investigation Unit is a new unit to the detachment as a whole. We piloted it in the early part of last year, where they focused more solely on domestic assault investigations and sexual assault investigations. Those are some of the higher priority and higher risk files that we see as a detachment that have obviously got some lasting effects on people in society. So we wanted to target those investigations and make sure that they were being conducted consistently and thoroughly. We found that once we started the unit, the results was fantastic and have expanded it for the rural members as well. A good example of that is a domestic violence investigation that occurred in the Sexsmith area. Our special investigation unit took the lead on that investigation, did a complex and comprehensive investigation, including some search warrants. As a result, we recovered a number of firearms from a residence, and a person has been charged with a number of criminal code offenses out of that investigation. I mentioned earlier the TP Creek Stampede is, or not the TP Creek Stampede specifically, but special events policing is an area that we took on in the memorandum of understanding with the county for enhanced policing. This does ensure that we are the lead for TP Creek Stampede and the planning and security safety planning around that. Last year's event was a great opportunity for us to test that new role, and I think it went off pretty well. It was a full-scale event between in the first week of July there, just after Premier Kenny had reopened the province. So everybody was eager to kick the traces of the restrictions away. We had a high police presence for that event, which resulted in several arrests for disturbing the peace, assaults, public intoxication. There were a few sex assaults that occurred out of that incident, and we're now working with the organizers of the Stampede to clear that up so that hopefully we do not have a repeat of those events again this year. Last thing I want to bring to everybody's attention here is a new app that's out and available on Apple and Android. The RCMP app provides regular news updates for anybody that has it on their phone, along with online crime reporting. So lower level minor files, if there's a crime in progress that you're witnessing, obviously we'd encourage everyone to call 911. But if you had something that you wanted to make police aware, but you weren't necessarily needed to call into the detachment, you can use this as an online crime reporting opportunity to use as well, crime mapping. And then it also provides links to other agencies such as Crime Stoppers, Rural Crime Watch, some of those events. So that's the end of the RCMP side of the presentation here. I'm going to turn it over to Superintendent Stu Rempel from County Enforcement, and we can hear from him.
Well, thank you very much, Matt. It's a pleasure to be here and be a part of this presentation and this panel. So thanks for the invite, folks. Let's take a minute and talk about my department and their role in crime prevention. Regional Enforcement Services. My department is a multidisciplinary law enforcement agency dedicated to improving community safety, traffic safety, infrastructure safety through proactive patrols, cooperative partnerships, crime prevention, education, and community policing initiatives. So the County of Grand Prairie Police Department was established in 1977. The County Police Department was created as a fully armed authorized police agency, supplemental, however, to the RCMP for the purpose of working with the RCMP to reduce crime. We were the original enhanced policing agency. On May 1st, 2007, the province created the Alberta Peace Officer Program, and that program prohibited community peace officers from dealing with crime and criminal offenses. So a little bit on peace officers. There's actually two separate types of peace officers in Alberta today. There's Alberta peace officers known as APOs and community peace officers known as CPOs. CPOs do work for the province. Some examples of those are transport officers, sheriffs, fish and wildlife officers, conservation officers. CPOs, on the other hand, work for municipalities, Alberta Health Services, and at post-secondary institutions. There are approximately 3,000 peace officers employed by 300 different employers in the province of Alberta, with the province of Alberta being the largest. So Regional Enforcement Services, my department, employs a combination of community peace officers and bylaw enforcement officers. We currently provide services to the County of Grand Prairie, Town of Sexsmith, Town of Wembley, and Saddle Hills County with authority throughout Alberta. Looking at our 2021 statistics, The department throughout the region issued 3,228 violation tickets. We conducted 2,476 investigations. We had 343 trials. We received 8,707 calls and inquiries. And then the regional animal pound, which falls underneath my portfolio, actually took in 1,005 animals. The Regional Animal Care Facility is a project that the County of Grand Prairie started in partnership with the city and our neighbors when the Grand Prairie SPCA closed down in 2016. The RACF takes in shelter animals and does adoptions for us. The RACF this last year brought in 555 animals and did 53 adoptions. We're very privileged to be able to have a relationship with Bandaged Paws, and 422 of those animals went directly to Bandaged Paws for their adoption program. So when you look at the department, a couple really big highlights I want to point out. Our highest speeds were 198 kilometers per hour in an 80 zone. That's 118 over. 209 kilometers per hour in a 100 zone. That's 109 over. 145 in a 50 zone. That's 95 over. And 174 in an 80 zone. That's actually 94 kilometers per hour over. So the largest fine we issued was $17,878, and that was to an overloaded commercial vehicle. My department is a part of Community Services Division, and we're located in the Community Services Building in Claremont. There are 5 departments that makes up the Community Services Division. That's Agricultural Services, Family and Community Support Services, otherwise known as FCSS, Regional Fire Service, Parks and Recreation, and my folks. We are a provincial program. Peace officers fall under provincial legislation and policy, as well as subject to provincial audit and oversight. Looking at the org chart for 2022, you can see that my department is broken into 3 separate units of function. There's an administrative unit that takes care of all the background work and the paperwork, dealing with the court, the Crown, etc. The patrol unit primarily does traffic safety, road protection, special events, policing, working with the RCMP, emergency management, and the specialized patrols. Our community standards unit does the unsightly premises. It's a combination of bylaw enforcement officers and level 1 peace officers. They do parking, bylaw enforcement, snow removal, animal control, animal protection, and of course, I mentioned the Regional Animal Care Facility, which includes the pound, falls underneath that umbrella. The next one is a little bit of an information called an infographic that was created for us from our friends in communications. It actually is called All About Enforcement, and it shows the different functions of policing throughout this region and talks a little bit about each. Because this is being recorded, you can take a look at this at any time. And on the bottom right, there's some reporting options that are listed there. So although we're not directly involved with crime and criminal offenses, we're very active in our communities. How do we support crime prevention? Well, let's take a look. Every patrol we make adds a visible law enforcement presence in the community. Every investigation we enter into is one that the RCMP does not have to. This allows them to concentrate on the more serious offenses. We support and participate in the county's safe community strategy. We attend and support local crime prevention groups. We administer a very successful reported drug house program. We support the RCMP and the enhanced policing program. The county hosts the RCMP crime map on our website, as does the town of Sexsmith. And the county shares the RCMP newsletter on social media platforms and our website. The RCMP Rural Detachment members, as Matt had already said, have been working out of the Community Services building since September 2021, and that's providing a stronger police presence in the rural and the town of Sexsmith, and a faster response to complaints, as well as increasing communication between the RCMP and my officers. So just a quick look at the reported drug house program. It can be, information can be done in confidence on the county's website or by telephone. We work with the crime prevention groups, just a few of them mentioned here. We do work with COP, there's Rural Crime Watch, there's Beaver Lodge District Rural Crime Watch, and then some applications such as the Light Catch app. I do want to hit on a few of the crime prevention apps that are available. There's many, many more, but I just want to cover a few. The Alberta Rural Crime Watch app is available on the Apple App Store or on Google Play. It's free. It covers a lot of crossover with the RCMP app that Matt spoke of earlier. One thing I like about this app, though, is the information it provides. There's pages of drop-down menus that have safety tips. And so if you've got some time, you've got an inkling, download the app, it's free. You can look at things like vehicle safety tips, telephone tips, safeguards at home, etc. The P3 app is Crime Stoppers. Again, it's available in the Apple App Store or free on Google Play. There's 3 ways that you can report crimes. There's leaving a tip by telephone. You can go online at p3tips.com, or you can do it by the app that we're speaking of right now. Finally, there's a Light Catch app, and the Light Catch app is also available on the Apple App Store or the Google Play. Light Catch is something that's it's a citizen share social media platform for the sharing of information, stolen property, stolen vehicles, suspicious vehicles, for example. So the screenshot that you see right in front of you shows that alerts, and it shows that there's a stolen vehicle and then a suspicious vehicle. So residents can use this type of app to share information with their neighbors and with other people. You're an example of some shares on suspicious vehicles, and other people chime in going, hey, we saw that same vehicle. And then the Beaver Lodge District Rural Crime Watch put something out and said, hey, if spotted, call the RCMP. Users can provide support by collecting information on suspicious behavior and providing photos that may assist the community in helping the RCMP tracking down suspects or stolen property. The county awarded $50,000 to the Beaver Lodge District Rural Crime Watch in 2021 to support a 1-year pilot to partner with the app. That pilot is in place till March 31st of this year. I do want to stress, though, if you use this and similar apps, please always remember the importance of reporting crimes to the RCMP first. The RCMP do not monitor apps like these, and posting to these apps does not go to the police. And finally, for emergencies, please call 911. So I'm very proud to be able to sit here and say that we've provided a wide variety of dedicated service to this region over the past 45 years. The next few slides are just going to cover off some collages of the activities and things that we do in the community. From public relations visits to joint agency specialized patrols, we live and raise our families in the communities that we serve. We fundraise, participate in open houses, and assist our fire service. We do regular school zone patrols throughout the year. We work with crime prevention. We do commercial vehicle safety inspections, and we protect our parks and green spaces. We do traffic safety, education and enforcement, and emergency management. We also do the roads and infrastructure protection. We actually carry weigh scales, and we do the seasonal road ban enforcement. We participate in Remembrance Day and graduation Grand March ceremonies, and the picture that you can see in front of you of the Grand Marches in the town of Sexsmith. Things changed with this COVID pandemic. Once in a while, we do some different things too. Community safety sometimes means showing up after a snowfall and digging out a fire hydrant so that the fire department can have access to it. We participate in local parades, school presentations, and support many worthy causes. And sometimes we even get to do VIP escort and get a photo op with things like, oh, that looks like the Stanley Cup. We play a role in community safety every single day on the roads, in the highways, and in the communities. So that's a presentation on my department and our role in crime prevention. Thank you for watching and listening. And I will turn it back over to Staff Sergeant Short.
Okay, this concludes the presentation portion of this event. We invite you to post your questions in the question and answer area. We will try again to get to all of the questions, but as mentioned earlier, a recording of the live event will be made available on the Town of Sexsmith's YouTube channel. Again, I want to remind you that we will not answer questions about specific cases or investigations, and to please keep your questions clean and respectful, as we will not address any that violate our social media or commenting guidelines. I'll introduce our moderator, Mark Evans with the County of Grand Prairie, who will ask the first submitted question.
Thank you. Our first question is related to the proposed new RCMP detachment that's being considered. And the question is, why is the new proposed RCMP detachment being built in Claremont rather than in Sexsmith?
Thank you, Mark. I'll address that one first. If anybody has any follow-up on that one, they can join in afterwards. We're looking at Claremont because as Claremont grows in size and reaches a population of 5,000, the County of Grand Prairie, under the Alberta Police Act, is required at that time to build a detachment and house the RCMP members. So we know that our numbers are getting close to that. So the Council of the County of Grand Prairie has looked for many years and wanted to get a stronger police presence out in the rural area. So what we've done is we've looked at putting aside and putting the funding in place to build that detachment in Claremont. So that's primarily why we're looking at Claremont for a new detachment to house the RCMP. And that's going to benefit the rural area as well as benefiting the town of Sexsmith.
If I can just add to what Superintendent Rempel has said, the town of Sexsmith has been in conversation about this with the RCMP, and the reality is we benefit as a community regardless of where that detachment is located, as long as it's located closer to the rural base. And so we're very excited about the potential of that detachment being located in Claremont. Of course, everybody wants a detachment in their town, but at the end of the day, this benefits our whole region quite significantly. And so we're very supportive of that move. So thank you to the county as well for sharing that cost and stepping up.
Just to build off of that just a little bit from the RCMP standpoint, I think that's one of the things that we recognized in moving forward with the new memorandum of understanding with the county, is that the opportunity was there for members to work out of the regional enforcement building more often and bring some of that closeness, I guess, for lack of a better term, to the Sexsmith community and the other rural communities that we serve. So it's much easier for members to get out for calls for service, proactive patrols, if they don't have to go through the city itself. So even without the detachment, that's still something that we're working towards maintaining so that we can have a better response and a better presence in all of our communities at this point.
Okay, our next question is for both enforcement services and the RCMP. And the question is, what are the hours of service for both the RCMP and the county enforcement services?
For the RCMP, I think we covered that one off in my presentation earlier there. There was a point a couple of years ago where we didn't provide 24-hour policing. We always provided 24-hour policing, but there weren't always members in a uniform. Sometimes they had to get woken up to come for calls for service. When we made some changes here in the last 12 to 18 months, we moved into that 24-hour policing model. There's always a member from the Grand Prairie Rural Unit on duty 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that's something at this point that we plan on maintaining. Stu?
Well, thank you very much. For a number of reasons, we don't actually advertise our hours of operation, but I will share that we are providing days and night time coverage, and we're on most days we're providing coverage 24 hours a day. We're not 24 hours a day service, but we do primarily cover 20 hours a day, and our bylaw enforcement works till 8 p.m. So there's no bylaw enforcement after 8 p.m., but our community peace officers are providing 20 hours of service every day.
Okay, our next question is again for the RCMP, and it is online reporting still available at the Grand Prairie Detachment, and what sort of crimes can be reported this way? And that's a two-part question. And the second part is also, can you explain a little about the RCMP callback program?
Online crime reporting is available. I'm not sure if you meant from the detachment. It's for the detachment. It's available for rural members as well, or anybody in the rural area, the Sexsmith area. I think there's a couple of ways that we can access that. I think the best way probably is through that app on the RCMP app. I haven't tried it personally. I haven't fortunately had to do it myself, but that would be a way of reporting that. Types of crimes that can be reported. Anything that doesn't require an immediate police response is probably can be reported through that. If you had a break and enter to your residence, that would probably be something you'd want to call in instead of using the online app, unless it was something that you'd already cleaned up or you wanted to make us aware that you'd had an incident reported, but you didn't necessarily need us to attend to investigate anything actively. The callback unit is a program that's available for some of those lower priorities. Those priority 3, priority 4 is how we term them. Lower priority files that don't require a member to attend. That's where those files typically go. Will be to a callback unit. They will review the information that's provided online, determine if it's something that requires a police response from a member of the RCMP detachment in Grand Prairie, be it city or rural, and then if not, then they will likely reach out to the person that provided that report, let them know that we received the documentation, if a file number was provided, that kind of stuff from there. Sometimes too, they'll get a file and it's reported, and then they'll look into the file and determine that it does require an investigator to attend or make contact from the detachment, in which case it comes down to us in the GD side, and we will assign a member to follow up with whoever made that report.
Our next question is possibly related to the first question we had about the detachment, but is there a plan for a satellite office in Sexsmith?
I guess the short answer to that question is right now, no. There isn't a plan to use a satellite office out there. I think we're in the phase right now where we're using the offices that are here in Claremont, testing that out to see where we need to make improvements and kind of go from there in this area. And then if down the road we decided that we needed to make some kind of change like that, then would be maybe a conversation we'd have. But the immediate plan right now is likely no. I know they have a new fire hall out there. I know if we needed to borrow some space for an incident or something going on, that would probably be who we would look to partner with in that type of a circumstance.
I might add to that as well. Just so that our residents know, we do have ongoing reporting and connection with Staff Sergeant Short and county enforcement to ensure that we are getting good service and that any concerns we have are being heard. And we've really seen, I would say, a significant increase in that over the past few years, where we've seen good connection and communication. And so that opportunity is always there as Sexsmith grows. I mean, we recognize that Claremont is right on the cusp of that population growth, and we're not quite there yet as far as what is federally required or provincially required in order to have a separate detachment. But there is always ongoing conversation. So if we see that need and if we see that concern or concerns happening that are not being addressed, those things continually get feedback and are communicated in our regular meetings with the RCMP and with the county enforcement, so that we keep that conversation open.
It's Ken Hildebrand. Just to let you know, as citizens on patrol, I've been out at night where I've seen suspicious goings on, and I made a call to the RCMP during the middle of the night, and they came out, they investigated. The next day they called me back and gave me an update of the results. So from the citizens on patrol side, when we see things going on in our town after hours, I know the RCMP have come out, they've investigated and gotten back the next day with their findings. So they are in our area. We may not always see them, but they're always available to be there. Thank you.
Okay, our next question is again for Ken. Not again, again, you'll get to speak again. It's about citizens on patrol. And the question is, do volunteers get paid for patrolling? For example, do they get paid for gas? Do they need to use their own vehicle?
So as a member of Citizens on Patrol, you do use your own vehicle for patrolling. We keep track of the mileage that you use. We reimburse by a rental car program. So it's like we're renting your car for the time that you've been out, and it's based on kilometers that you drive, and that. So that's written out every twice a year, I believe, is that check, or once a year that check gets written out to our members. It's enough to cover off your fuel. It's that's what I find, and otherwise it's a total volunteer for your time, but we do try to reimburse where we can for your gas as a car rental. Thank you.
And that is the end of our questions that we've had so far tonight.
All righty. If we've don't have any further questions that have come in, then we're going to just say at this point that we've reached the end of our event. We'd like to thank. Oh, hang on here. Where we go? I'd like to take some time just to thank the communications team of the County of Grand Prairie for helping put this event together. And making sure that it's a success. We've had great success from the detachment and county enforcement in working with them to provide a quality event for everybody. And we'd like to thank everybody for coming tonight. Thank you.